Welcome, everyone. You are tuned in to the Xhale Podcast, where your hosts, Eric Strauss and Rodman Lees, talk about anything and everything spearfishing, as well as getting into some off topics. So go ahead and get suited up because we're going to dive right into this episode. This episode is brought to you by the Xhale Spearfishing Store. Located here in Jupiter, Florida, they've got all the gear you need to get out on the water today. Also, check them out on their website, xhalespearfishing.com.
Here we go. Take 3. Scene 2.
Welcome, everyone, to the Xhale Podcast. I'm Eric Strauss. I'm here with Rodman Lees. How's it going, Rodman?
Good evening, Eric. I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Good evening. Indeed. So, last time we recorded an episode, we announced that we were in a new space. The Xhale Spearfishing Store is up and running. Big announcements, right?
Big announcements.
We're now finally making moves and getting the podcast kind of dialed in its own little studio here. So the Xhale Podcast Studio is now being added to the Xhale Spearfishing Store.
There you go.
So we have a little space now. Lighting.
Excuse to come by the shop, check out where the magic happens.
I probably should have thought to turn the air conditioning off, but
you can't hit a home run the first time at bat. You gotta.
Now, let us know if you can hear the air. It's on right now. If you can hear it, leave a comment down below.
There you
go. But yeah, so this is it. We've got multi-camera angles.
Boom.
Although we do have to get it dialed in a little bit. But yeah, this is it coming together. Got a new little table in here, and we liked doing it in the actual showroom, like the storefront last time. Yeah, it was in the workshop, but. Moving everything around every time, like I think we talked about that last time too. It's just kind of a hassle.
No, breaking it down, setting it up, you always run into technical difficulties. So if you guys are podcasting out there, just set up once and then get it dialed, and then you don't have to worry about it again. Yeah. But I will say this table, custom podcast table, but the mic mounts, man, are just
this whole thing.
Mic mounts are on point.
There's no more wires running across the table except that one video wire in the front. It's all right. We'll let it slide this time. If we use this angle, you can't see anything, dude. Yeah. Not even one wire in this whole place.
Yeah, who knows, man? We're just talking heads now.
So yeah, this is going to be a big step. I think getting a permanent setup. Guys, let us know. We need to add stuff to the walls and bring some decorations in here. We do have the pile of crap in the corner, which is my official first decoration. We've got the Xhale Spearfishing banner in the background. Shout out to my brother for getting that for me. That was an awesome gift. But yeah, what kind of stuff should we throw on the wall?
Yeah, Casey Scott, come paint a mural in here for us, man. Let us blow you up.
Yeah.
That'll happen. If you guys know a good artist or any suggestions, good photographer, you want to hang something behind us, we'll hang it up.
Yeah.
If not, we're going to throw whatever we want up here. So I
was thinking like bent shafts, like old gear.
Ooh, that ultimate.
I've got
that Palm Beach rifle and that ultimate.
The Palm Beach rifle
would look good back here.
And the SMG. I've got, including your Palm Beach rifle, it'd be 3 like really cool antique guns.
Yeah.
That could be neat. Although I like right now all the antique guns are hanging from the ceiling in the showroom, which is kind of cool. Yeah. But I feel like people miss them a lot. A lot of people don't see them up there unless I point them out. So I'd like to showcase them a little bit better. That might be a good.
That SMG is cool. It's like an actual gun.
Yeah.
That shoots spears.
Yeah, not that. Hopefully the ATF doesn't look into this too much. I would imagine it's classified as an actual firearm. Yeah. I mean, it shoots a projectile, aka a spear gun shaft.
Well,
with
I don't know,
gunpowder.
Yeah, but it works the same way like those 22 nailers work. You've seen it's like the same idea as that kind of.
Yeah, but I think there's like regulation or the way they make those, they can't actually shoot a nail out. There's like multi-safeties in place. Yeah. So I don't think
baling wire will take care of that though. But yeah.
I mean, it just seems like it's an actual firearm.
For sure. No, you're like hitting a primer, which is igniting like a cartridge full of gunpowder, which shoots the shaft.
Okay, maybe we shouldn't get too much into detail just in case the Alphabet Boys are listening.
All right. Well, Speaking of cool art, one of the things that we were talking about hanging up in here is that photo of you coming up with the Wahoo, man. That was a sweet photo. Who took that photo?
It's actually right there.
Yeah.
That is our good friend Tommy Allure.
Boom.
Which he's been on the podcast before. We've got one episode from forever ago where we're talking about diving with the great white. Tommy was with us that day.
Yep.
And then we did an episode of
GoPro
Tommy going
settings.
over GoPro settings. Yeah.
That's actually an awesome episode.
It is a really good episode.
I completely forgot about that episode, and I could have used it because although I use my GoPro quite a bit, I was going through it being like, because I'm kind of a set it and forget it kind of guy, you know?
For sure.
Of just like, all right, let's.
You don't strike me as that kind of person.
Shocking, I know, but I was going through it, and I just wanted to like make sure like my settings are right. And I opened it up, and I was like, well, they better be right because I ain't changing it. And I should have gone back and looked at what Tommy had to say because Tommy is amazing photographer and, like, actually geeks out on that stuff where it's just above my pay grade.
I don't know. You really strike me as somebody who's great with buttons and settings. You know, considering I just set the hotkey buttons to switch cameras like this.
I'm like a pen tester, like a failure tester. You know, like you
touched it once and
you
ruined
want to
it.
see, like, is it idiot proof? Well, let's find out. You know,
turns out it's not.
Yeah, turns out it's not. I always said that for my kids. Like, my kids will look me dead in the eye, and when they're, especially Luke, my oldest, when we were like baby proofing the house, he would just walk up to like the new baby proofing thing, just look right at me and just undo it. I'm like, you jerk. Like, it was just a game to him, you know? Like, I couldn't.
That sounds like him.
Yeah. But to be fair, most of that stuff is super chintzy. Like, they're doing it just to sell it to, like, nervous parents and not actually make it. Like, there's no, like, certification level.
You know what will keep them out of the cabinets real well? A well-placed backhand.
I don't know, man. We've tried that too. Actually, what works really good, we have knobs, is a snorkel keeper. Like those double O-ring snorkel keepers.
Actually, I remember you saying that. I remember going to your house and you had a bunch of them on your things. I was like, what are you doing with this?
Yeah, keeping the kids out from under the sink.
There you go. Come to Xhale Spearfishing. Get you some snorkel keepers, silicone snorkel keepers, and child-proof your cabinets.
Yeah, it makes it easy for me to get in and out because I can just like pop it off and it works pretty good for them.
There you go. Available on the website as well.
Yeah.
xhalespearfishing.com.
There you go. But yeah, so that Wahoo was a crazy story, man, or just everything coming together. That
was a really cool trip. It's a cool photo for one. Tommy is an excellent photographer. He's really yeah, let's grab the picture. Grab that pic. Let's showcase this thing. It's a little bit of an inexpensive print, but I need to get it reprinted, to be honest. But how sick of a photo is that?
That's cool.
Shout out to Tommy for taking that for me, taking the time to get in the water and take the photo for me. But yeah, so that was not long after I actually opened the store. Tommy and his friend Jamie, who I didn't know at the time. I think that was the first time I met him, but I may have met him previously at different shops. Anyway, they came into the store, and I had been talking. Tommy had texted me earlier and asked if I wanted to go to the Keys with them the next day, and I was like, "Well, no." It was the next day. It was Saturday. I'm open on Saturday at the time from whatever. I think it's the same time. Anyway, I was open. Had to be at the store. I'm a one-man shop.
Yeah.
You know, it's a pretty difficult point of the store being open for me to start taking time off. But later that afternoon, after I told him I couldn't go, he and Jamie came in and told me that they were planning on now just doing a local trip. And of course, after he had asked me to go down to Key West, I was looking at the weather and everything was lined up. You know when you like fire up your forecasting app and you're going through and you're like, all right, yep, super windy. There's no way this is going to like clear up on the day I wanted to. And then you swipe to that day and it's like, oh, wow.
No,
okay.
perfect.
No, it's blowing 4 knots.
Yeah.
Okay. Compared to 20, it's the middle of winter for us. So 5 knots of wind in the wintertime is pretty much unheard of. And it was coming off of the full moon. I mean, it was perfect conditions, you know, for Wahoo down there. You could not ask for better conditions. Right time of year, right season. Everything was great. So I was super bummed because I'm like, man, this is like building up to be a premium weekend. So they come in, they tell me they're going to go on a local trip instead. I was like, dude, you guys got to go. Like this might be the best weekend, like the best window to do this all season.
Yeah.
Is this weekend. And they were like, really? Because I guess they didn't look at it much. Once they decided they weren't going to go, they didn't look. So they looked at it and they're sitting there like, you know, why don't you just close the shop and come? Like we need an extra person. We can't go with 2 people, so let's just go. And after a couple Coronas, I went to the back, grabbed a Corona, and popped the top off of it. Walked out. I was like, we're going to the Keys, boys.
Nice.
So what went down was we geared up. I went and set up a quad band and closed track Koa, blue water gun. We all set up our gear. Jamie went and got the boat. I met them pretty much back at the shop at like 10:30 at night. That same night. We loaded up, drove down to Key West overnight. Shout out to Jamie, by the way, because he drove it was his boat, his truck. He drove the entire time. And this was a 1-day mission. Drove from here to Key West overnight, launched a boat at 3:30 in the morning, and I think we spent 15 hours on the boat. Crazy. Not including driving the truck. 15 hours on the boat. Drove out to the Wahoo grounds, and I mean, it was good conditions. It was a little bumpy in the morning, but wind died down through the afternoon to the point where it was just glassed off. And we couldn't find that like Wahoo water, that perfect blue Wahoo water, you know. And down there, I think it's pretty essential to have super clear, just beautiful, perfect conditions. As soon as like that murky, you know, Key West gets that like, I don't know, the milky water, that chalk water. Yeah. So there was kind of some of that mixed in, and some whale snot, as we call it. Is that you call it whale snot?
Well, I don't know what else you call it.
Like big slabs of just
imagine what
goo.
You think whale snot would be.
Yeah. So there was a lot of that. Visibility was good, not great. Decent amount of current. We just couldn't find any fish, and not just Wahoo. I mean, I think we saw 1 barracuda, a couple triggerfish. Gotcha. We dove the reef. Remember when we went on our Wahoo trip and you like drift up the bar, and we were diving the same exact area.
Yeah.
You drift up on top of the reef and you kind of reset and drift up and drift up. So even on the reef, we didn't see anything. I mean, there's like tropicals and stuff, but no kingfish.
No mutton.
No, maybe a couple real small ones. Yeah. Some small hogfish and stuff, but nothing.
Gotcha.
Nothing shootable.
Yeah.
For a little bit, like in the middle of the day, we even dove the reef a little bit just to see if we could find something, and nothing. Not a single fish around. And then
that's tough diving,
dude. Especially launching the boat at
3 in the morning,
3:30 or something in the morning, and diving. I mean, we dove the whole day. Like I said, we're on the boat for 15 hours, so we're just drifting over and over and over and seeing absolutely no life, nothing to even look at. And then all of a sudden I think towards the afternoon, we drift one time. I think I was in the water with Jamie, and I make a dive down to, I don't know, 60, 70 feet, something like that. We're in like 100 plus. And I see a shark come up off the bottom, which I assume is a bull shark because there's a lot of bull sharks in that area. And as soon as I turn and start swimming up, like sharks do, they like to follow you up to the surface, which I actually learned why they do that the other day.
Why?
Not a shark biologist by any means, but apparently when sharks are grouped together and one like turns vertical, the rest of the sharks assume that it's a shark going to the surface to eat something. So they all get fired up and go to follow that shark that's like vertically going to the surface, because they all think they're about to eat something. So basically a shark thinks it's following you to come eat something.
Nice.
Sometimes that turns out to be you. So anyway, the shark follows me up, and I'm looking at him, I'm like, good Lord, that is a giant bull shark. And it's getting closer and closer. I'm like, okay, that's a freaking tiger shark. That is not a bull shark. And it's a huge, huge tiger shark that comes from literally me to you.
No way.
And turns right there. I had to give it a little bit of a poke just to kind of get it moving.
Yeah.
Redirect, as the professionals call it. And yeah, that's actually the first tiger shark I've ever seen in the water.
No way.
And I guess it's kind of a cool thing. They see them down there, but it's not a super common occurrence. And then right after that, we had Tommy got in the water. I got in the boat. 4 tiger sharks at one time came up to them in the water. Four separate tiger sharks. Different than the other one, because the other one that I saw was huge. These ones were a little bit smaller, but it was 4 separate tiger sharks.
It's crazy how thick they are, man.
That's a big shark, dude.
Yeah, like a bull shark can get to be like a huge. I've seen other species of shark around 9 feet, but a 9-foot tiger shark is twice as big. Just where am I? Here I am.
Yeah.
Just thick, man. Those guys look like a submarine coming at you. Like it's a whole different.
I mean, I've seen pictures and videos of them,
Yeah.
And they're big. I mean, I've seen pictures of people next to them and like pictures of people touching them and stuff. And you always look at it like, man, that's obviously a huge shark. But in the water, when it's right there, it's a whole different, scenario.
A whole nother game.
So that got me puckered up a little bit, but it was also cool. I was pretty stoked to see one. Like I said, I had never seen one before, so.
Yeah, my first time ever seeing a tiger shark, I went to college. I went to Valencia State College. Now, it wasn't Valencia State at the time, but I was at Valencia State.
I went there too.
And I had just become a
semester.
There you go. I had just become a PADI dive master.
Yep.
And so I shot my resume out to 200 dive locations, just from Honduras to wherever. Like I just wasn't loving college, and I was like, man, I got this like professional kind of certification. Let me blast it to everybody. And one person got back to me, and it was the Dolphin Dream, and they were doing shark dives in the Bahamas, and this was like 2006 maybe. Yeah, it was either 2006, 2007. And I'd never heard of Tiger Beach.
Way back in the day.
Pre-Instagram, right? So I couldn't even get clout for it back then. Like I could tell people, but you're not getting like the, whatever, pre-Instagram. And so they're like, hey, would you ever go shark diving? And I'd seen Shark Week on Discovery Channel. I'm like, you're in a cage. Like I'd done enough spearfishing and seen sharks. I was like, yeah, dude, no problem. So wake up in the morning, and Andy, the first mate, had already chummed up the sharks, tons of lemon sharks. And he's like, all right, man, go jump in. I'm like, like the new guy. They're like, no, man. Throw your gear on. Go jump in. And I'm like, dude, well, I don't, what? He's like, yeah, dude, like, you're going to go jump in, and you're going to take this crate down to the bottom, and just tell me which way the current's going. The sharks will come in on the crate. I'm like, oh, you're serious. So I threw my dive gear on with like 50 pounds of lead, like literally all the loose lead I could find, because all the sharks are at the surface, because he's like throwing in like flayed out fish carcasses. They're like catfish, at like a restaurant.
Yeah.
And so I threw all my lead in, stepped off, and just boom, and just straight. It was like bubbles for, I don't know, half an hour. It felt like, of just bubbles, and me having like all my fingers like tucked into my armpits, like didn't want to touch anything. And I hit the bottom like a ton of bricks. And we were in super shallow water. We were in like 10 feet of water, maybe 15 feet of water, where I've gone since then, and it seems like all the boats now anchor like a little bit deeper off. But we were in, like 10 feet of water. And tons of lemon sharks. There's like, we saw like occasional reef shark, and then all of a sudden the first tiger shark came in, and it was like, you could see it like in the mist. It was like a black dot, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And I mean, it looked like a freaking nuclear sub coming at me.
Those sharks are very big too.
Dude,
They're bigger than your average tiger shark.
Yeah, and it's funny because like I would go through like waves of like being afraid and like to like being in awe, and that was like fully in awe. Just like, man, and just like the tiger stripes on it are so pretty.
It is
an impossible to
impressive
capture
creature.
Yeah, you cannot capture it in photography. Like I've never seen it captured in photography or art. Just how cool the stripes on them actually are. Like really neat. Not that is doing anything for camo. Like I don't know what the purpose of that is. Like, it ain't fooling anyone. It's a massive freaking animal.
It's like painting tiger stripes on a 747.
Yeah, exactly. You
can't see it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's something that I'll never forget. A bunch of German tourists. And
for some reason, I'm picturing, the movie Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah, actually, I watched it for the first time the other day.
Dude, it's one of my favorite Disney movies of all time. Of Crunk against the wall. He's like, trying to hide from the guy.
Nice.
That's what I'm picturing the camouflage on a tiger shark does.
Yeah, ineffective.
I would actually, I know it's kind of like that whole thing is slightly controversial as far as feeding sharks and that kind of, and especially Tiger Beach. I would actually love to go experience that at least once.
Oh, that's cool, man. And
just,
it was
to be
neat.
able to. There's nowhere else in the world. I mean, there's another spot in the Bahamas, but there's not many places in the world that you can interact with tiger sharks like that.
Yeah, and I've freedove it since then, and freediving it is really cool. But doing it scuba, we were there for a week, and doing it scuba for that week was awesome because you didn't have to think about anything else. You could just sit down there and do it. Yeah. Like it was cool. I
would do it.
Freediving, the pictures come out cooler though.
Yeah,
it's like real nature, like just you and the shark.
Anyway,
minus your wetsuit and mask and fins and snorkel, just you and the shark.
All that stuff. Yeah. So 4 tiger sharks coming on Jamie. Nice. Getting back to the Wahoo story. Jamie and Tommy, 4 tiger sharks. So five tiger sharks in one day. So that alone is honestly kind of worth the 15 hours of diving, which was brutal. But anyway, after that, still we ran from one side of the bar to the other and back around and to the middle and to the reef. I mean, we went all over the place. We ran all day. I'd actually love to know how far we ran total, because we were just all over the place the whole time. And at one point we found, actually this was I kind of forgot about this. This was kind of cool. We saw a bunch of birds diving on bait, and it was in like 60 feet of water on the reef. And it was something, we were just riding by it, and I was like, I had all my gear on already and the gun like ready to go. So I was like, I'll jump in and just see what it is. Worst case scenario, I don't shoot something. So I jump in. That was a very loud can, by the way. They're trying to hide under the table.
I just didn't want it straight in the mic.
It's fair. So I jump in, and it's several broken up pods or schools of glass minnows, like bay anchovies, and yellowtail snapper.
No way.
Like skying out of the water on this bait. I mean, thousands of yellowtail snappers. I've never seen so many yellowtails in one spot, other than like during peak yellowtail season, and you have them all chummed up, and it's like you can like walk across them on the surface. It was like that, but from like 15 feet to 40 feet, just like a blob of yellowtail snappers. And they were skying out of the water like 3-4 feet, crushing anchovies.
No way.
It was pretty wild. I tried to shoot one with the blue water gun, but they wouldn't.
Any flags swimming around?
Oh yeah. Giants, dude.
Really?
Giants. It was pretty cool. I've never seen a school. Usually you see them, and there'll be a lot of them in an area, but they're spread out.
Yeah.
Or there'll be like 2 or 3 or 4 of them at a time, and like 4 over there, 3 over here, all in the same area, but pretty spread out. But this was just like a cluster of them. It was like a biomass of yellowtail snapper. So that was cool. was pretty neat to jump in and it was crystal clear right there too, which was even nicer. So that was interesting. We messed around in that, just kind of looking at it for a while. And then I'm pretty sure after that, we might have done a couple drifts after that, but at that point we were so burnt out and it was late in the day. The sun was like just about to touch the water. There was just like 2 or 3 fingers of distance from the sun on the horizon, you know. And I think at that point I had already unloaded my gun and like started taking my gear off. I think Tommy took his wetsuit off and we were like, we're going in. Like, let's call it a day. It was a good day, but it is what it is. Let's hang up our hats and run it in. So Jamie fires up the boat and we start going in. And as soon as we start like get up on a plane, Jamie's like, nah, we're drifting it again, and turns the boat around. And we went, and me and Jamie got in the water. Tommy, I think he already had his wetsuit off, like I said. So I think it was more of a case of he didn't want to put it back on. But he told me to go in the water. So Jamie and I get in. We're out of chum. All we had was the flasher. Merc Crew flasher. Shout out to Merc Crew. They make the best flashers around. Pick them up at Xhale Spearfishing. Only the flasher in the water. We're in the water for about 5-10 minutes, something like that. And I just had that feeling, you know, that it was coming around.
Sense.
Yep. And I was like checking all my 6s, all the corners where I know the Wahoo are coming from, because at this point I've missed quite a few, ripped off one, seen some, and so on and so forth. I've had quite a few Wahoo experiences, so I kind of like had a good feel of where they generally come from. And I look into this one spot where I'm just picturing, I could just feel that they were coming from there. And I look over, and sure enough, there's 2 of them that I saw. Jamie said he saw 4. Both decent sized fish, nothing crazy, but just to see one at that point. And it was kind of weird too. When we redrifted it and turned around and came back to this spot, all day we were in that kind of like weird viz. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, right when we got back to this spot, the same spot we drifted like 100 times that day, we just got in this little bubble of clear water. So, I mean, it's a pretty turbulent area. There's so much current moving. So you do get these like little pockets of good viz. And we just happened to be right in a pocket of good viz, right when the sun was like at very low, like prime time, you know? Yeah. And it all added up at that point. They came right into the flasher. One of them is like staring at the flasher like this. And I see Jamie duck dive as I'm also duck diving. So, and he was like a little bit ahead of me. So I did my duck dive super, super slow, like very stealthy, kind of dove away from the fish, which I've had good luck with in the past to try and get them closer, because they were just kind of coming in and cruising around and doing their thing. Jamie goes down to 30 feet, if that. And at about 15 feet after I duck dive, I just kind of, the fish were headed towards him. So I just aborted my dive and kind of turned around, but just floated up slowly. So the fish come to him. Actually, for a second, the fish were like right behind him and he hadn't quite turned around yet. So I'm like, you know, like trying to get his attention, but also not trying to be like super loud or obnoxious to spook him. So he finally turns around, stretches his gun out. When he does that, the fish kind of like take off, spooks the fish. So I'm like, well, there goes that opportunity. Turns out they come right back around and come straight to me. So I'm still at about 15, maybe 10 feet, and they're coming my way. So I dive back down, go down to like 20, and the 2 of them just come up like perfect. I mean, right outside of range, but like coming into range. And right as they're coming into range, I slowly extend the gun out. I actually, because I had already unloaded my gun, I was using Tommy's gun, which was a Rife Marauder. Worked great, kind of. They come in, I extend. As soon as I extend, the bigger one, which I was lining up on, does like that little Wahoo twitch and goes from like being right here in front of me to like 30 feet away within like a blink. So at that point I was like, all right, this fish just spooked twice. Like this opportunity is gone.
Yeah.
So I kind of just watch him, and I start lining up on the smaller one because it's in range, and I'm about to shoot the smaller one, and I'm not even paying attention to the bigger one. He comes back around to this side of me in range. I'm like, oh, I see it out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, okay, well, we'll try this again. And sure enough, reach out, right in range, perfect shot, broadside, right behind the gill plate. Could have been a better shot. It was a little low, kind of on the verge of being a gut shot, but it held, smoked the fish, muzzle wrapped the absolute crap out of that gun. I'm shooting breakaway on full float line and everything. Muzzle wraps the gun, so I kind of like yank the gun to see if it'll come off. And as soon as I yank it is when it like tightened up and the fish was like full steam, you know? So I go like this. It like rips me through the water, and I'd let go of the gun. And this is all like within a second, you know? But in my head, I'm like, okay, fish is pulling me. I can either hold on to it and probably tear the fish off, or let go of the gun and possibly have to buy Tommy a new gun.
New Rifle Marauder.
New Rifle Marauder. It's like, first Wahoo, yeah, goodbye. So drop the gun. Sorry, Tommy. Luckily did not lose the gun.
It stayed wrapped.
It was wrapped so bad that it stayed wrapped. But no fault to the gun. I think I don't think it was a particular issue with the gun. Tommy is shooting Dyneema on the gun. I think it shoots better. It's designed to shoot with mono. Not that should be an issue. Just for whatever reason, those circumstances, it happened to muzzle wrap. It happens to any gun. But yeah, it kind of sucked. Other than that, fish takes off. I watch the gun and everything and float line, and I hit the surface, and I'm freaking screaming. Tommy already knows what happened on the boat, so he's screaming from the boat. We're all screaming. And I just abandoned Jamie. I'm like, he completely vanished from existence to me as I'm chasing this freaking float that's just skipping across the water.
So cool.
But apparently there was still Wahoo. There was 2 other Wahoo that were still hanging around, so Jamie was like messing with them while I was chasing this thing. So I take off and catch up to it, and it's adrenaline burst chasing the fish, and I get it up to like 40 feet. Tommy throws me a second gun, and with one band on it, one band 120, Rob Allen.
Go.
And right when I'm like getting ready to dive down, and it's just me, so I'm pulling the fish up and like trying to hold the fish in place. Like as soon as you let go, they start sinking like crazy fast. Those Wahoo just like torpedo down. So I get them up, and I'm like diving and trying to like pull and dive at the same time. And right then, both of my legs freaking Charlie horse up. So I can't kick, and I'm just like double fin straight kicking my way down like a freaking walrus.
Errol right now is just cringing at this story. He's like probably like our most by the book safe diver. There's just like 8 things that I've heard where Errol's like, ooh.
Hey, I mean, I wasn't.
Get her done.
You got to get her done. To be fair, I wasn't that far away from anybody. The boat was right there. I wasn't diving deep. And not that these are excuses, because safety is safety. In the situation at hand, it was okay. Was it the greatest thing to do? No. But we're talking about my first Wahoo that I've ever shot, so nice. I'm going to get it done.
Yeah.
So I straight leg kicked down to like 30 feet, something like that. The fish is at like 60. And I'm like, nope. I'm like contracting crazy hard. I'm like, yeah, no. Bail to the surface, pull the fish up to like 20, and go back down, stone it with the one bander, and pull the fish, get it up to the surface. And Tommy's like right there on the boat. So fish breaks, and Tommy's like filming on his camera on his phone, and he's like, oh, screaming, and I'm screaming, and not way away, very, very, very close. You could hear Jamie screaming from wherever he is, and it was a wild day, dude. Landed my first Wahoo.
It's awesome, man.
And then,
that's cool.
Thank goodness, Tommy always has his camera on deck, so he jumped in the water and took that picture. There's actually a couple pictures he took. They're all pretty good. But that one, for some reason, that one in the black and white, it's just kind of hits for me. Although the fish looks absolutely hideous in that picture.
I want to see it in color too, man.
Yeah, I don't think he ever even sent me that one in color. But you know, he's the artist. I'm gonna take what he gives me. If he sends me it in black and white, then it's meant to be black and white.
God, he sent me a picture and I put it on my Instagram and I put a filter on it, and holy moly, I got so much flack from him of like, dog, you vignetting my photo. And I'm like, dog, what is vignetting? Like, I don't even know. I had to like Google the terms that he's thrown at me. About it. That yeah, I had no idea what he was talking about. But it came to the conclusion that I put a filter on his photo, and that is
bad news.
I got a stern wag of the finger.
Bad news.
Yeah. So now I know you get what the artist gives.
And to be honest, I really like that photo in black and white. I think
it's free.
I want to get it.
Yeah, dude.
I do want to get it reprinted. I like that print, but it was a inexpensive print. There's a place right behind my shop over here called Shiny Prints. I've got 2 prints from them, different ones.
Mm-hmm. You just don't like that as matte?
I don't like the matte, and the print job is just not great quality. If you look at it close, there's like ink streaks on it from where you can tell it's just a cheapo job. Shiny Prints does a freaking incredible job. I have two photos from James Ferrara, who's one of my favorite underwater photographers. And Shiny Prints did an incredible job on his photos. So they're right there. They're my next door neighbors. So I'm definitely going to use them in the future as well. But I'm glad I have that picture. So again, shout out Tommy for getting in the water and taking the photo for me. But just to be able to like relive, because that's a long story.
Yeah.
And but that I can like tell myself that story in 5 seconds in my head just by looking at that picture. That's kind of cool for me.
For sure. No, man, that's awesome. It's the same thing, like, and it's easier to hang than a fish mount. It's cheaper than a fish mount, you know?
Definitely.
There's been a couple fish where I was like, oh man, I should get this mounted. And then, have you ever like looked at how much a fish mount costs?
Dude, it's insane.
They're not cheap. And it's not like I'm getting a skin mount. Like, I'm getting like, so you're printing these things out by the dozen. It's fiberglass. You know?
It's like, I mean, I get why people want to get their fish mounted, but at the same time,
for that exact reason, it's just a cool story. It's
a cool story, but you're getting the same fish as, like, if you catch a giant permit, or it's just the first thing that came to my mind, and go and get it mounted. Everybody else that has got the permit mounted in the same like size category has the same exact fish on their wall, and they're all hand painted. I mean, I know why they cost so much.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, I get why they cost a lot. It's a lot of hand labor, but yeah. You know what's crazy? You remember Blake Perez? Mm-hmm. He was in here the other day, just saying hey, and he recently hand cranked. This is the most high school thing I've ever heard in my life. He does a lot of sword fishing and crushes it. Kid is a savage swordfish guy. Hand cranked, like, I don't even remember. I think it was a 700-pound fish.
More than 5.
Yeah. Massive swordfish. I think it was 700 pounds or maybe 600. Yeah.
Either way, hand cranked it.
Yeah, we're talking 1,300 feet.
Yeah.
At least. Something like, it might be deeper than that. I don't really do it. So correct me if I'm wrong. Whatever. Blake, chime in. But hand cranked this thing up, and Gray Taxidermy wanted to do the mount for him. And I don't know. He said it was a 14-foot long fish. So I don't know where the hell you put a 14-foot long swordfish mount. But we were measuring it up on the wall in here the other day.
It's a big one.
See if it would fit.
You know who I saw a swordfish head mount that was skeleton, and that was badass, and it was a local guy. That's cool. I wish I remembered his name, but he does like those fish like skeleton. He does like the full bug treatment on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a guy caught like a 700 pounder. The head was like the size of like the gill plate head deal with not the bill, just the head was like the size of this table.
That's a cool mount to do as well in like a regular fish mount. Instead of a full body, they do like a head mount.
Yeah.
Where it's like coming out of the wall and turns.
You ever been to the West Palm Beach Fishing Club?
Yeah, you brought me there.
There you go. So there you go. That place is freaking awesome because there is not an inch of wall space on it.
No.
Or ceiling.
No.
The entire thing is club fish mounts. A lot of them like old skin mounts.
The skin mounts are cool.
You want to talk about cool skin, like just cool skin mounts? There's the Everglades Rod and Gun Club down in like Everglades City.
Mm.
Oh, man, Everglades Rod and Gun Club. I'm 99% sure it's that. We went there. We spent a weekend there, did some fishing, and that place has got same vibe, but all skin mounts of everything you can kill in Florida, like flamingos, and like this place is old school, and all of the skin mounts are from the 50s, so they are just old, and it's like the old dude from Jumanji lives there, like the hunter from Jumanji. You know what I'm talking about? Everglades Rod and Gun Club.
Okay.
The place is got some legit old school like sea turtle mounts and flamingos and just.
That's kind of cool. Sea turtle mounts, although I would never kill a sea turtle.
Yeah.
Some of the old ones, especially like just old shell mounts and stuff, I've seen some that are like backlit so you can see through the shell and stuff. There's some really cool shells.
So there is a company, Tropical Tortuga, look them up on Instagram, that do hand painted turtle shells, and you can get them from like 6 feet by 3 feet, like giant loggerhead ones, down to like really pretty hawksbill ones that look better than the real ones, and they're fiberglass, so you can backlight them like that. They look awesome. I have 3 of them in my house.
Nice.
And they're like that one. I have a huge one right above my dining room table.
Cool. Those are really cool.
Yeah.
You have a giant one.
Yeah, I have like the freaking monster one.
And that way you can also feel nice knowing that there was no illegal turtle trade going on.
Yeah. It looks just as cool, and it's like, yeah, Tropical Tortuga.
Save the turtles. Don't buy a real turtle shell.
Talk to Marge.
To Marge?
Yeah. Save the turtles. Margaret.
Shout out to Margaret.
Yep. All right. Well, dude, awesome podcast, man.
We got one more thing to do.
All right.
Before we tune out, you look like you gotta go to the bathroom.
No. I'm just.
So, I want to do. This is a product you have never seen before.
All right.
It is a slip tip, and I grabbed a slip tip because we're doing the Wahoo story.
All right.
I think it's important to shoot a slip tip for Wahoo. It can be done on flopper, but if you're trying to shoot your first one, like me,
no,
use the right gear.
Use
Get it done
gear.
right.
Slip tip. I am flopper gang for life. If I'm going out for Wahoo, I'm using slip tip.
Yep. So this is a new slip tip that's out from Black Reef Pole Spear Company. It's a slip tip that he uses on his pole spear, but he sent me a few of these adapters to use them on spear gun shafts. And it doesn't use a slide ring. It's just an adapter and a tip, and it's all titanium. So this is kind of like a little first reactions to a new product that I'm looking for here. And maybe we'll get a little close up here as well on the action cam. But it's kind of a neat little idea.
Those flutings are no joke.
Yeah.
Those are like actual. Like that might make a difference.
And it's not steel. The adapter and the tip are both titanium. You can feel how light it is.
Yeah, that is. And now that you mention it, that is crazy light. Like this is the size like that big rife slip tip.
Yeah, it's a 5/16 diameter. Like
yeah,
the tip
and
itself
the
everything.
tip is just. You know, like I don't know if you guys can see that, but
here we'll show it on this camera. Oh, that's a real close up of me.
Here, zoom in. Here. Bing. Bing. There we go. What? All right,
Look at
so
that shot.
I don't know if you guys can see. The flute's on there, but that is no joke. That is deep. That's probably like a half centimeter deep. I don't know if you guys use metric, but real ones, that is on there. You pull this tight. It's like Aussie line. You pull that tight. The thing's on there.
It stays on surprisingly well.
Yeah.
Actually.
So for a pole spear, that's good enough. If I was on a gun, I'd probably still tuck this into my bands just to.
Yeah, you definitely.
Just to make sure, but it's
definitely
even
tuck
without
it
on there. This thing's got no play. I mean, that's like Maury style fit.
I'm switching this back now.
All right, Maury style fit. That's pretty good. It's got the double flares at the end to make sure that it comes off. There's nothing worse than like plugging something with a slip tip and not pulling it right back out, which I think is probably better for a pole spear than a gun, but maybe that's just my own.
Let me see this thing. My first impression of it was I like the idea.
Yeah.
It's a 5/16 tip. It's made to go on a 5/16 diameter shaft, but it's a 6 mil thread. So you need a 5/16 shaft with a 6 mil thread. I'm sure you could throw this on a 6 mil or a 7 mil shaft with a 6 mil thread as well. I think Rife actually makes the shaft that fits this. I like it. The engagement is a little bit crunchy. Like you can feel the machining lines on it. You can probably hear that on camera.
I can hear it from here.
But that being said, the tolerance is so close that there's just no play. And on a spear gun, that's incredibly important, right? Any kind of weeble wobble to one side or the other is going to drastically change the way your gun shoots for the worse.
This isn't the first time that I've seen this through design, although it's not at an angle on the other one. Do you know the company that does this?
No.
JBL.
On the old school.
On their like.
Oh, on their slip tip. On their pole spear slip tip. The old one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I used to.
Anyway, first impression, I like the idea. I think it needs a little bit of refinement.
I'd like
polish
to see
up
how
that
it
engagement.
Works once this is like not brand new.
Yeah.
Brand new. But I mean, at that point, you just replace it, so it's not that big a deal.
But when it's tucked in the band, it's not going anywhere. So for a
gun, I think this is badass.
It's not. This is not set up for a pole spear. This is.
Gotcha.
This adapter is for a spear gun.
I think this is a badass spear gun tip. I like it a lot.
I think it's got potential.
Oh no!
Polished up inside, I think it'll be. I think it's got.
If you're. Was I just holding it there? So the trying to like knock it, because my initial reaction is this thing's cool.
Yeah.
I think the hardest part with tight tolerances is if you only catch it on one side, trying to.
It's not a toggling tip like you said. It was like a Mori before because of the lack of play, which a Mori, like a real Mori tip, has zero play in it. They're hand fit, which this is the same way, but unlike the Mori, it doesn't have that like toggle, like the ball release system where it's like a ball fit in a socket, and it's just like the geometry is just right where it sits straight, but it also just pops off to the side. Whereas this is like a straight fit, like it slides over the whole piece there. So that's my only knock, is that I really like toggling tips. Quaid from Black Reef has assured me that this system works just as well, but I don't know if I believe him. Sorry, Quaid.
Keep your personal. So this is just my opinion, having held this in my hands for only a couple of seconds. Mori is the gold standard for slip tips. They're head and shoulders above the rest. They're also a little tricky to get your hands on. But this might be second to Mori. I really like this.
I'm looking forward to using it.
I love how light it is.
The weight is
that is
really cool.
insane. That is insane. But the whole reason why I like a slip tip so much is that it holds better. And if this doesn't toggle, then it ain't gonna hold very well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I'm gonna try it out, do some testing with it, see how it works. I'm gonna throw it on a gun and see how it shoots. But yeah, just want to show it to you, see what your first impression was on it. Check it out.
Nice. I like it.
And with that being said,
what's the price point? Do we know yet?
I probably should have known that going into this, but I don't know.
I mean that's another big thing with
I would
slip
assume
tips.
it's in the same kind of price point as most of the slip tips, in that $100 to a little bit over $100 price point.
Yeah, because they are not cheap.
Yeah,
like it's funny because I look at it, I'm like, how different is that than a pole spear slip tip?
Well, the tip is his, like, this part is from his pole spear tip.
Yeah.
Like, this is his pole spear slip tip. But this is basically just the end of an injector rod cut off and threaded. So it's like the end of your pole spear injector rod, but cut and threaded for a spear gun shaft.
Well, that gives me a little bit more confidence with it, like, going, because we've tested it on the pole spears a bunch.
So I'm gonna shoot it. We'll make a video on it.
It is super light. It's crazy how lightweight it is.
All that being said, general first impression, we like the Black Reef spear gun slip tip. Looking forward to trying it out.
I give it an A.
An A from Rodman.
An A. I give it 3.5 black groupers.
3.5 black groupers.
Yeah.
That's the new scale. 3.5 out of 5 black groupers.
How about 75 pounds worth of black grouper? What should the scale be?
I don't think a 3.5 out of 5 is an A.
Well, is it? I never said it was out of 5.
Well, regardless of what's it out of 3? 4?
We need to come up with a scale
All
for
right.
how to rate things.
Okay.
And it has to be cheesy like that.
Let us know as well, what's something new on the market that you want to see us talk about. Definitely planning on doing some like real product reviews in the future coming up.
Yeah, and forget the tabletop things. You get a real question. So like we did an awesome one that never made it to air, but I reference it all the time, is sling shafts diameter. What penetrates better? What hits harder, further, penetrates better? 6 mil, 6.6, 7 mil, or 8 mil sling shafts? Because I didn't know. And we did an awesome episode on that. If there's something where you're like, hey, what works better? Like, if there's a real question, not like, hey, what do you guys think of this? Like, compare two things and give us honest feedback. Dude, Eric has to play nice. I don't. Like, I will rip some stuff apart.
I don't have to play nice.
You should, though. You don't have to.
Nah. I tell it how it is. I'm not. Most of the suppliers I work with know that
That's fair
if
enough.
something is, if I don't like it, I'm not going to talk nice about it.
Well, that is what's one nice thing about owning the shop, man, is
I can do whatever I want.
everything in here is what you want.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode. We're going to wrap it up. And we'll see you in the next one.
See you.